We're on the record.
Just the first part, you think it just down to here?
Yep.
Okay.
Is it?
Yep. Do you want me to start or you going to go? Let me just check that off. Wait a minute. Okay, so you want me to do this?
We're on the record. Council agenda, Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, regular Township Council meeting of January 23rd, 2018.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Law by filing the notice in the office of the Township Clerk and by posting the meeting notice on the bulletin board at the municipal building and on the municipal website on December 20th, 2017, where it has remained posted since that date. A legal notice appeared in the Daily Record and the North Star Ledger on December 27, 2017, and was forwarded by fax to other local newspapers on December 20th, 2017.
Okay, please rise for our flag salute. Mrs. Grignani, if you would.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. DePiero?
Here.
Mrs. McCarthy?
Here.
Ms. Grignani?
Present.
Ms. Peterson?
Here.
Mr. Carriffy?
Here.
Also in attendance are Business Administrator Ellen Sandman, Township Attorney Jim Lott, Township Clerk Colette Madden, Council President. We have a quorum. You may begin.
Okay. Thank you. Upcoming meetings, February 6, 2018. Is that 7:30?
Yes.
Okay. At 7:30 p.m. agenda meeting, and February 20th, 2018 at 7:30 p.m. regular meeting. Presentation reports from the town council. One couple things I'd like to mention. At our next meeting, we will be honoring Henry Luther, and also the council will be presenting and the administration a certificate of appreciation to the water department for all of their hard work that they've done in the last few weeks. We've had a lot of water main breaks in town, and they've really gone above and beyond. So we're going to recognize them at our next meeting. Any other?
The only thing I would say in deference to that is that well in excess of 30 breaks. Some which affected our schools, and so they've been working. In fact, the reason why I think it's next week, I think they're resting right now, so because of the weather. But the weather doesn't help, because when it warms up, then it freezes up again. So
right.
Just wish them luck, because they've been out. And when you're working in a hole with wet hands trying to fix something,
Yeah,
it's, you know,
we've got it easy.
We've got it easy.
We've got it easy. Okay, any other council members have anything? Okay,
No.
Township Attorney.
I don't have anything, Mr. President.
Thank you. Business Administrator. Ellen?
The other meeting, I talked about receiving millions of dollars from FEMA. And again, I have to report great news. The council president asked, will there be more? And yes, there's more. We will be receiving $541,000 more on a requisition 5. Requisition 6 will be $32,000 more. And in requisition 7, $326,000. So again, I want to commend the engineering department under the tutelage of Mr. Leza, our engineer, but I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Mike Hardy, who allowed his really very active staff member, Julie, to go and help them and to put this together, because anybody who's ever worked with government, local, it's busy. State, it's a little bit more. When you're dealing with the feds and trying to get hundreds and thousands of dollars, it doesn't just happen. So again, accolades to them and bringing in these funds from those storms. So we're pretty much, we weren't nobody received, the way the rules were, that nobody received 100%, but were well in the 70% bracket, which was what was permissible. So I believe I talked about over $4 million last time. So this puts us easy another million plus. So congratulations to
Good.
a staff.
Fantastic.
Thank
That's
you.
good news. And the money's coming in the right direction.
All right.
That's all I have. Just that, you know, the other thing is we are busily working on our budgets. We're getting to the tail end of finalizing having the mayor meet with all the department heads. We'll be finishing up that next week, and then Ann Cucci, our finance director, is busily working on the revenue side, because as we talk about a budget, it's not just the appropriation side and capital. It also has to do with the revenues and dealing with the revenues properly, and you know, seeking what we can. On the meeting tonight is a grant writer, Millennium, to receive more funding. A lot of the things that they have on that list we are already doing. I'm hoping that with this new help, we will be seeking more funding from other sources. That's it.
Thank you. Township Clerk?
No report at this time, Council President. Thank you.
Okay. Township offices, committees, reports? Anything? Mr. DePiero?
Nothing at this time.
Ms. Grignani?
No, not at this time.
Peterson? I just have the Parsippany Chamber of Commerce had a meeting the other night. It was announced that 4 new businesses have joined the Parsippany Area Chamber of Commerce so far in January alone. Also, there was some discussion about publishing the 2018 guide to greater Parsippany businesses. At the present time, they're waiting for nicer weather so that they can get an aerial photo of the town using a drone, excuse me. And there's also been some discussion about working with the Economic Development Committee with the town. And also, they're looking to get some office space on East Holsey Road. So, thank you. Okay, bids taken, to be taken, quotations, proposals, qualifications, none. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to open up the public hearing.
Motion.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember DePiero, second by Councilmember Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
The floor is now open to the public.
If you'd like to come up, please state your name and your address, sign in. You'll be given 5 minutes.
Hello, hello.
Thank you. Okay. Mary Przicki, 273 Marcella Road. I have one inquiry. You know, when Waterview was first proposed, and they did present the plans to, I believe, the planning board and the council. You saw the plans. I could remember being at all of those meetings. And the wall, as I recall, was going to be pretty high. The wall, one wall. And it was going to go up to the townhouses. Now, all of a sudden, there's a wall that appears on Route 46, which a lot of us did not realize, or maybe did not see the plans correctly, because I thought that along Route 46 was supposed to come some trees and evergreen bushes. And now we have a Bastille. That's what it looks like. I mean, or a jail. I think it was really inappropriate, and I was wondering whether there was a change after the townhouses were taken off and the scale was done differently and nobody was aware of it. I think when plans are going to be presented to the town, because there was that Route 10 plan too, that was going to be look terrific and everything, that they really need to be more observant and how the plans are done. And when it comes to the actual erecting of things, the planning board needs to be more effective, okay, on that cost. All right, that's my number one. Then I have a question where when I was here for the swearing in, that there was a thing called the official newspaper of the town, besides the ones that went into the, there was two. Besides the one where the legal notices were going to be, and I was wondering what the official newspaper was.
It's the Daily Record. That's the official
Is that-
newspaper, yes.
Yeah, that's what that
Yes,
is.
but we
Okay,
also
that's
use the
just
Star
for-
Ledger.
Okay,
When we,
it was just for legal matters.
yeah, when we post notices, especially when we do the annual notice, we have to do it into two papers,
Okay.
which is a Star Ledger and
Okay.
Daily Record, but
All right.
generally it's just a Daily Record.
I was thinking, well, I don't know a paper.
And we
Yeah,
want,
that's
when
it.
we want to quote you, Mary, we want to make sure it gets in both papers.
Thank you. That's very good. All right.
Oh, thank you.
You get a star for that one. All right, the other issue that I have, and I don't know whether the council has ever considered this, but there is talk to legalize marijuana in the state of New Jersey. And I've read quite a number of articles, and there are towns who are considering resolutions to stop the sale in their town, which is kind of silly because then you got one town here and you can come to the other town to sell it, okay? But it is a drug, and sometimes it's a very effective drug for people who have seizures, et cetera, et cetera. Drugs are regulated. They don't become recreational, whatever, smoke, okay? You're introducing something. Why? Because I think the state of New Jersey wants tax money. And that's at the greed of the citizens' safety, in my estimation, okay? I mean, you read that THC, I believe it is, it has two components. And one of them is discharged when you urinate or whatever. But the other one stays in your system. And all the facts on what it does is not there. And I think the state of New Jersey needs to slow down. And I think resolutions from the townships should come. I mean, AAA, when you read everything they put out. And then when you read what some medical experts are saying. And kids, you know, they get suspended in school for smoking vapor cigarettes. And you're going to allow them to have this opportunity to get a drug. Thank you. That's all.
My name is Bob Venezia. I live at 102 Brooklawn Drive. And as is its right, the new administration has filled many municipal positions with its own appointees. For the most part, the public has insufficient knowledge about the character and qualifications of the appointees, so we generally trust our elected officials to make good choices. At the last meeting, 2 council members voted against appointing someone as Director of Parks and Forestry. Their reasons for rejecting the position seemed very reasonable, and I found myself nodding in agreement when they asked why the township needs to fill a position that has been vacant for 14 years. I totally expected the 3 council members who voted yes on the position to rebut the arguments of the 2 members who were opposed. There was no rebuttal. Absent any justification for the position, the logical conclusion is that it was intended to reward an ally who was helpful during the campaign. Appointing cronies to high-paying jobs that provide little or no value to the township is wrong, no matter what administration is in power. But for a new administration whose stated goal is to clean up Parsippany, it's also hypocritical. If there is a good reason why this position should be filled, the public would like to hear it. Thank you.
Bob, just don't forget to sign in.
Capitaccio, 182 Hawkins Avenue. The last meeting I asked a question which I've asked over the last 2 years, and that is being an ordinance about 24-hour businesses being up against residential neighborhoods. I've just been informed that we might be getting another one in town over on Littleton Road, a 7-Eleven and another store that's going to be backing up on the Troy Hill Gardens. So I'd just like to know if anybody's given any thought, and if you have.
Pat, I did speak to Mr. Lott about that, and
Okay.
he said that you can speak to him after the meeting.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, in response to your comment last meeting, I've actually started to take a look at the ordinance, and I have a phone call into the township planner on it as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
You can come up, sir.
Nick Komiak from Lake Hiawatha. About the job, it might be a good idea next time when Mayor Soriano does appoint someone that he does explain to the council exactly why the job is necessary or vital for the town. But I would think in a place like Parsippany that calls itself Tree City and with a Parks and Forestry Department, that a qualified forester, if that is the fact of this individual, is a warranted job. And there's a epidemic right now going on in the state with diseased trees, ash borers and other insects. So I would think it would be important for a person that knows how to assess trees and where to begin the work that may be necessary, and also the reestablishing of trees in other areas to make up for the trees that are being lost, both from overdevelopment and from the disease. So in my assessment, the appointment of a legitimate forester for the town of Parsippany would be a good job position, and it probably wasn't abolished because it is a necessary position. I just had a meeting with Tom from the mayor's office because we live in a town, we have a housing department, a health department, and a sanitation department, but they don't seem to work together. We have people in this town who still don't recycle, who still don't keep up their properties. The gutters up there on North Beverwick Avenue are a disgrace. Every time it rains, all that goes into the gutters, into the streams. So we have all these ordinances, but they don't serve any purpose. They're just on paper. They're not being enforced. If Morris County has one of the best records in recycling, doesn't mean that the town shouldn't enforce rules for people who aren't recycling. I think the job of a recycle coordinator would be to find the people who still aren't complying to the mandatory law and making them comply. You don't have to find somebody. You start off with warnings and you build yourself up. But housing, if you have landlords and tenants that aren't providing recycles for their tenants or keeping their property in a decent state, like the basket of cheer up there, which has become a form of blight, then it's up to the housing department or the health department to enforce the state law. Their excuse is, it's a state law, you have to get the state. And that's inappropriate. If you have a duty and responsibility, you should live up to your duty and responsibility. So not only, we have people who are filling jobs but aren't living up to their duties and responsibilities. And as far as this marijuana thing goes, they don't want to tax the corporations where they have all the money, so now they're looking for a new source. Because the rich people who have it all, they can't give to the country which made them the greatest. So now we got to look for a new revenue source. And it is a scientific fact. You can find it in reliable sources. Marijuana is not a drug. It's not a drug. It might be a mild hallucinogen or whatever. But like I said, if you want to do something, ban them little liquor bottles that anybody can pull in a store, take a zip, throw it out the window. They're all over the place, and they make it easier to drive drunk. So the alcohol, in my opinion, represents a lot more of a public safety problem, especially in that form, in that little bottle form, than marijuana ever could. So I'll leave it at that.
Good evening. Michael Sargenti, 282 Myrtle Avenue, Fort Lee, New Jersey. I just noticed on the non-consent agenda that there is the motion to reject all the proposals for the Knoll Head Pro position. And I was just curious, as the next following steps, is it going to be reopened for?
Yes.
It's going to be reopened?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to wait till you ask all your questions, but
Just wondering if it's going to be reopened
yes,
for bidding,
it's
or
already
just
out.
gonna-
It's already out to be reopened. Yes.
It is. Okay.
I mean, to be rebid.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do we have a date on set for when
I sent it to you,
we're going to
Michael.
have?
Do you have a memory of what time it was going to be accepted back? I sent you the.
When you sign in, leave your number, and if we don't have an answer for you, we'll call you and give you an answer.
Okay, not
Yeah.
only about turning
It's-
it in, but
yeah.
as far as picking the best proposal. Do we have a date? Is there a date set for that?
It would be the same. It would be the same.
The same day you turn it in, you're going to get an answer?
No, I'm sorry. The date, it's out. It's not going to be out for a long time. Before you leave today, I'll just pull out the proposal. Is it on the? Isn't it on the agenda? It shouldn't.
No.
Didn't we put something? No. Okay, that's going to be on the meeting coming up. Okay.
Well, if we don't get it to you tonight, we'll.
I sent it. You know, I know that Mike Hardy is our QPA. He's the purchasing agent, and before when there's a little bit of a break, I'll get out and I'll have it for you before
Excellent.
you leave. Okay.
Thank you.
In fact, I can get it now. It's a good time. It's going to be very short term. It's a quick turn. You know.
For the first time, I can say, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back. A new year, a new issue, along with the other one, and I want to thank the gentleman back there for using the word non-compliance, because this seems to be something that's getting pervasive. My issue this evening, in addition to the fire hydrant issue, which you're all familiar with, Mr. Shovels resting in the car. You'll meet him one of these days. Streetlights. The light on my property, on the pole, next to that beautiful fire hydrant that I'm responsible for, has been out for quite some time. So I started to ask, who's responsible? Because I assume somebody's responsible for lights out. But all of a sudden, more lights are going out. Some of the streets are dark. And I started asking questions. And as I noticed that, I noticed another non-compliance issue. Some of the houses, even though Normandy Village is over 50-some years old, do not have street numbers on their mailboxes or their homes. So when you have dark streets, no numbers, there's an issue. So someone told me I have the responsibility, again, of speaking to Jersey Central Power and Light. So I called them. What an adventure. I don't even have a word for it, and I think all of you know I'm not usually at a loss for words. I was told what were the numbers of the houses that didn't have the street lights on them. How should I know? I know there are bands on the posts, but some of them I'm too short to read, and some of them you can't see the numbers because they're raised gray on gray. Now, My conversation with the Jersey Central Power and Light person obviously is not going to get my light changed. We got problems because now more and more people are parking on the streets. And the streets aren't wide enough for 2 cars to pass each other while 2 cars are parked across from each other. It's getting to be, I don't know, it's frustrating. No numbers, nobody cares about the street lights, which means cars are going to be broken into, which they are, increasing in frequency. Homes will get broken into. People walking dogs are going to have problems. And some of the ruts in the streets that aren't being taken care of are going to cause some legal issues. But I can't take care of everything, not at this stage of my life. I was away for the first time in so many years when that snowstorm hit. And I want to publicly thank the handicapped veteran who does not live in my neighborhood, who came over and did my walk and my fire hydrant because he knew I was worried about it because of the horrible fine of $2,400 a day for the 2 of them in a horrendous situation, which the law says you must comply and get it shoveled within 12 hours of the last snowflake. The bitter cold also was an issue. Where I was, people didn't know what cold was. They sure found out in a hurry, and they didn't have a way to get warm.
1 minute.
1 minute. 2 issues. This gentleman is mentioning compliance with garbage segregation. I'm talking about no numbers on homes and mailboxes. I'm guilty. I just changed my mailbox, so I don't have a number. I guess I'll get fined tomorrow. But not getting this, that was a horrible snowstorm for anybody to be out shoveling snow. It was an emergency. It was a horrible situation. There's a time to comply with the law, and there's a time to bend the law, and there's a time to do something about the law. I've mentioned streetlights out, no numbers on homes, and even after I came back and saw the mess of snow, there were still sidewalks that were not shoveled. Ladies and gentlemen, we say that Parsippany is a great place to live. Let's make it a great place to live. Let's care about each other. Please do something. The laws are on the books. You shouldn't fear the law. You should understand it, work with it, and obey it. Please, Mr. Shovel is so tired. He wants to retire. I shouldn't have to buy a searchlight to go down some of the streets. Duval has quite a few lights out. I'm not going to ride around. I'm not the compliance officer. Please don't make me the little old lady complainer, because I have been told I come here and whine. I'm not whiny. When your car gets broken into because the street's dark, you're not going to be whiny. You're going to be upset. So, healthy, happy New Year to all of you. And please, I have something better to do on Tuesday nights than coming in here. I've been coming here for over 10 years about the same issue. I think its time has come. Mr. Shovel wants a rest. Again, healthy, happy New Year.
Same to
You
you,
too.
Beverly.
Thank you.
I thank you.
Okay, see no one else come forward, entertain a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Motion.
We have a motion by Councilmember DePiero, a second by Councilmember McCarthy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Floor is closed.
President Carriffy,
Yes.
if I may have a minute or two, please, before we start
Yes.
our ordinances. Several weeks ago, an article was placed in an online computer publication. And a name was blared and spread across the front page. There were pros and cons in regards to this article. My name was associated with 2 of those letters. The subject, of course, was marijuana. The first and only time I made a comment about marijuana was at the December 2017 council meeting when President Lou Valori mentioned possibly having an ordinance for recreational marijuana. We had a full component of councilmen, DePiero, Peluso, Valori, Carriffy, and myself, and every one of us made either a comment, a thought, or we were concerned. I made an opinion, and it was a personal opinion that I gave. But in the article, only 2 members were mentioned, myself and Mr. DePiero. What happened to the other members? They also made comments, but that was not placed in the article. One of the letters, and I will quote, "So according to Grignani's opinion, he may be on his way to heroin." I never gave that quote. I was never asked to give a quote, but yet it was published in a letter by a resident who comes before us at almost every meeting. I respect him for his concerns, but I do not respect him for putting my name on something that I did not say. Another comment from this gentleman is as follows. Contrary to Grignani's opinion, marijuana is not a drug or an opiate, nor is it any more a gateway element to heroin any more than milk and cookies. Milk and cookies. I gave milk and cookies to my children when they came home from school. And you're equating drugs with milk and cookies. My comment that night was from a personal experience with a family member. The heartache, the pain, the suffering that we saw our loved one go through is something that we will never forget. Wanting to know how he was, where he was. Is he in the street? Is he dead? Where is he? Is a call going to come? Well, that call came, and he did overdose. Mr. Honiak, I hope, no, I pray that no one in your family ever has a desire to drink milk and cookies. Thank you.
Council President, if I may,
Yes.
on that same topic, when Lou Valori recommended that the township adopt an ordinance banning the use of marijuana in Parsippany, even though I concur with the desire, I'm adamantly opposed to legalizing marijuana and making it a recreational drug. An ordinance, if this new governor makes it a statewide free drug, recreational drug, then we might end up in the courts with expensive litigation to overturn our ordinance. However, there's nothing wrong, I believe, in the township adopting a resolution opposing the use of marijuana as a recreational drug. A resolution is simply giving the township's opinion without bucking a state law, if it ever becomes a state law. So I would be receptive to a resolution to that effect, but not an ordinance.
On an answer to the gentleman, I believe he did leave. I gave him the information.
Okay.
Just for the record, it will be going out to bid on Valentine's Day, February 14th, out to get the quotes for the Golf Pro. So that's
Is that when it goes out, or is that when the deadline for turning them in?
that's the deadline turning it.
Deadline
Yeah,
turning
I
them
meant
in.
I meant to say deadline, but thanks for correcting. Yeah, the deadline for them to come back in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, ordinances, introduction, second reading, public hearing, none. Non-consent agenda, resolutions, Mr. DePiero.
2018-26, resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills authorizing award of a contract to Aquasure, 1460 Route 9 North, Suite 310, Woodbridge, New Jersey, 07095, for risk management consultant, liability insurance, broker of record services. Motion to approve by myself.
Second, Grignani.
Motion made by Councilmember DePiero, seconded by Councilmember Grignani. Roll call. Mr. DePiero?
Well, since I have not had an opportunity to meet anyone from this company, and I did have a very positive impression of Fairview Insurance, who were covering us before, I would normally have voted no for this because I didn't have an opportunity to meet any of these people. But I am familiar with the firm. They are a large, reputable firm, so I'll just voice my objection. I didn't get to meet anybody, but it is a good firm, and I will vote yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ms. McCarthy.
2018-027, resolution of the Township Council of Township of Parsippany Troy Hills authorizing award of a contract to Aquasure, 1460 Route 9 North, Suite 310, Woodbridge, New Jersey, 07095, for health insurance broker of record services. Motion to approve the resolution above by, I approve it.
Need a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, second by Councilmember Peterson. We have a roll call. Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Council President, if I could just add so that there's clarity, Councilwoman Grignani did ask me with regard to any changes with Meritain. This is the health broker who will go forth and make sure that that Meritain is keeping up with what it is. Meritain is still on record. We passed that last year for that coverage under the auspices of the past broker. Now that we have a new broker too, they'll be looking into Meritain. So right now, this just assures that we have a broker of record, but Meritain is our health, so that our employees know that we're still staying with Meritain, which I believe they're very pleased with.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am charged with reading number 3. I would also like to make a comment on this before we vote, so I'll read it first. 2018-0028, resolution of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills rejecting the proposals for operation of pro shops and provision of golf professional and related services at Knoll Country Club. In reviewing the paperwork provided by our town clerk, it became clear that the proposals that we're receiving are for hiring an employee of the town to run the Knoll Pro Shop. And
More than the pro shop, much more than the pro shop.
so what I would like to do is potentially reevaluate that relationship, and instead of having them be an employee of the town, invert that so that we treat the pro shop as a concession that is going to pay us for the privilege of using our space and having access to our township and our members, not employing that person as someone that we're paying for the opportunity to run a retail for-profit business.
Yeah, you need to. Yeah.
All right, that requires some clarification. The pro at the Knoll Country Club is a consultant. We put out for bid for a consultant. He is not an employee of the township. He's a consultant. His duties include running all of the golf outings, as well as the pro shop itself is his merchandise. He buys the merchandise and he sells the merchandise. And he gives golf lessons. This new bid, for the first time ever, okay, included requiring him to pay rent for use of our pro shop. That was never in there before. So he's a consultant.
Would it be normal for someone who runs a pro shop on a different course, and forgive me, I am not a golfer, so I don't know, would it be normal that the person who is in this role in a equivalent golf course is running outings and giving lessons and running a retail operation, and that is the generation of their income?
Their income comes from profits they make on merchandise that is theirs. They purchased it and they resell it. Their income is based on lessons that they give. And in the bid, okay, for years, we've been paying the pro $68,000 a year. All right, that's what going rate has been, for him to run all of the golf outings. He's there in the morning. He checks everybody in. He issues scorecards with all the names on them, and that's turned in at the end. And he figures handicaps and the winners and so forth, so that trophies can be given out at the golf outings. Those are all his responsibilities.
And is he making money on the lessons on top of his salary?
Yeah, yes. He's a golf pro. He gives lessons. But this bid also
Michael, a clarification. You're saying that in addition, it's not incorporated in that? It going forward, haven't we changed that in the document?
Which?
The fact that it all should be incorporated. I know that the quote that was put in, he had put some additional funding in the back of it. That's why we're rejecting that bid.
He put some additional funding in there because the way the bid was written required that the pro also provide coverage for the Knoll East. Now, he can't be in two places at once, so because that requirement was in there, what he bid was, well, if I'm required to have someone else, an assistant pro, at the East course, then I need to pay that assistant pro. If you're not going to require that, then that money would have come out. That was an either or in his circumstance.
As the administrator, I would make the recommendation that we reject this bid and that we take under advisement what you're asking as councilwoman, and we have some discussion. I know that Jonathan Nelson is here. He is now the utility director and is working closely with making sure that the document that went out this time, or will be going out, well, we'll see what needs to be done. I believe, I'm not sure. Jonathan, can I just ask, while I know this is a little out of the normal, it didn't go out yet was it published yet?
I think Mike Hardy was in the
process. So maybe tomorrow we can just say, hold it for a moment for review.
My recommendation is to remove that requirement that he have an appearance at both golf courses. We don't need that additional cost to go in there, no matter who bids on it.
And what I'm recommending is not just that, but there's many things. And I'm just really happy that we have the opportunity, because Ann and I got here after the first agreement with that individual went out, and then a second. This is the first time we're going to have an opportunity to really make a difference for everyone, for all concerned, and I appreciate your comments, if that's okay.
My recommendation is that we take that second part.
Yes, and I'm saying that might be a very good recommendation,
let me
but there's much more than that needs to be addressed.
Can I just, while you're doing this and you guys are ironing this out, if Mr. DePiero is willing to, since he is a golf fanatic and his whole life, and he's very involved with the golf course, if he can be involved, if he's willing to, be part of this process with that.
And as well as the councilwoman.
Yes.
And then Jonathan is here, and he's nodding, of course.
Maybe
because what we can do together will be the best product for Parsippany and for all concerned.
Maybe a committee.
And this way, Ms. Peterson's questions can get answered
Yes.
as well.
Yes. And some of the things you raised are questions that we all have had.
So pursuant to 2018-28, I'll read it again, resolution of the Parsippany of Township of Parsippany Troy Hills rejecting the proposals for operation of pro shops and provision of golf professional related services at Knoll Country Club. Motion to approve the resolution approved by...
Yeah.
Oh, me, sorry.
And a motion? Need a second?
Sorry.
Second.
Second by motion by Councilmember Peterson, second by Councilmember McCarthy. Before I put this to vote, Council President, you're saying that Councilmember DePiero and Peterson will be getting together to discuss this with...
Well, yeah, if they'd like to. I mean, you know, nobody knows the golf course better than Mike does, so, you know, and in this way, Mrs. Peterson can get her questions answered, and they can be part of
right,
the process.
and part of it is because I have a utility director, Jonathan Nelson will be the individual that will work together in concert with the two council people.
Right.
And we'll address it accordingly and make sure that he coordinates with the clerk on trying to find some time when they can sit down and get it together.
Okay.
And I would hope sooner than later because of the nature
Yeah.
of what we're talking about.
Yeah, because of the bid and stuff.
The fact that,
Yeah.
you know, the season will be quick upon us.
Okay. So roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Resolution 2018-029. Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany, Troy Hills, confirming the appointment and awarding of contract for grant writing to Millennium Strategies. Motion to approve the resolution by myself.
Second?
Motion made by Councilmember Grignani, seconded by Councilmember Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Resolution 2018-30. Resolution of the Township Council, the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills authorizing a person-to-person and place-to-place transfer of plenary retail consumption license for Pujashish Inc. Motion to approve the above resolution.
Second, Grignani.
Motion made by Councilmember DePiero, seconded by Councilmember Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Consent agenda. Be it resolved, all items listed with an asterisk are routine and non-controversial by the Township Council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second, Grignani.
Motion made by Councilmember McCarthy, seconded by Councilmember Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Closed session resolution, whereas the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231 permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas the Township Council is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, and whereas the Township Council wishes to discuss Carriffy litigation status, and whereas minutes will be kept, and once the matter involving the confidentiality of the above no longer requires confidentiality, the minutes can be made public. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills that the public be excluded from this meeting. Motion to adjourn into closed section by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Councilmember Peterson, seconded by Councilmember McCarthy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
I'm going to recuse myself.
Okay, we are going to recess into closed session, and we'll be back.
Will there be?
We're back on the record. It's okay, we have a quorum.
Okay, she's not here.
We're gonna open and then we're just.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you go to the ladies' room or?
It's okay. We need a motion to reconvene.
Motion to reconvene.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Councilmember DePiero, seconded by Councilmember McCarthy. Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Okay, we're back into open session. Need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Grignani.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Grignani, seconded by Mrs. McCarthy. Roll call. Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
And Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
We are adjourned. Have a great night.
Safe trip, Michael.